Coming up on today's show, I want to reveal Mel Kiper's latest NFL draft big board with you guys and talk about which players the Broncos could have an eye on. The major or main point of this video is just for you watching right now to get a better sense of awareness for these prospects, because I love the NFL draft. And one thing I love about the draft is no one can say with absolute certainty they're right and you're wrong about a prospect. It's a choose-your-own adventure for everyone. So I invite you to watch the show, learn about these prospects, so then you maybe can do your own homework if you want to. You can steal my notes. I don't care. That's my job. And just come up with your own favorites of who you think the Denver could target, at pick number 20. So let's get into it, starting with 1 through 5. No one should get their hopes up for any of these players. Unless some major trades happen, they're not getting Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, or Mason Graham. Obviously, maybe almost in that order, that would be my preference for the Broncos, but that's not happening. Will Johnson at number 6. Denver doesn't need a corner, but I do think he's going to be a stud. Ashton Jeanty at 7. Now we get to our first train stop where we go, okay, let's talk about Ashton Jeanty, because that's someone who definitely could pique Denver's interest. First, some background information on him. From a size standpoint, pretty solid size, 5'9", 215 pounds. Maybe some teams would prefer him to be a little bit on the taller side, but now we're just getting nitpicky here. There's a lot of pros. One, if you just watched him at all for even a half a Boise State game, you walked away thinking, that guy's a stud. I don't care who he's playing in the Mountain West. Some people are knocking him because he didn't play legit competition. Chris Johnson played at East Carolina. LaDainian Tomlinson played at TCU. I rest my case. And that was, by the way, TCU pre-Big 12. So the question that I think we all have to ask ourselves is, will Ashton Jeanty even fall to pick number 20? That is a little bit of a tough answer, because on one hand, you might look at his numbers and think, this is pointless. Why are we debating this guy? He's not going to even be available for the Broncos at pick 20. You could look at who's picking ahead of Denver, and there's not an obvious spot. The Cowboys maybe, the Bears potentially, but the draft is filled with unknowns. There will be trades. Things are going to change, so don't get too glued or attached to the current draft order. So when it comes to whether or not Jeanty could be even available at pick 20, I can't say yes or no for certainty. What I can do is just look at the past and go, well, what were people projecting in the past, and then what were the actual results? So I just used Mel Kiper just to keep things consistent today. And I looked at his last 3 years of January mock drafts. And what I saw was 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 5. He had 4 players projected to go top 15 that ended up being available at pick 20 in 2 straight years. 5 players in 2022 that he projected to go top 15 that ended up being available at pick 20. So his latest mock draft, which he actually hasn't come out just yet, it'll be any day now, but I have no doubt he will have Ashton Jeanty going in the top 20, probably closer to top 15 than top 20. But don't say with absolute certainty, no, Denver can't get Jeanty. He won't be there at 20. The draft is, an absolute crapshoot. And anything can happen. So I would not ingrain yourself in any one trench of this is fact. The second question we have to ask ourselves, does Sean Payton want Ashton Jeanty? We had a video about this, which some people did not like the title of, but I enjoyed it. This is a growing conversation following the end of the year press conference, because Sean Payton pretty much did everything he could without coming out saying, verbatim, we're not drafting Ashton Jeanty. He talked about how they don't see a bell cow back as the way they want to go. If you take Jeanty, he is your bell cow back. That is why you use a top, 15, 20 draft pick on him. You use a first-round pick to give him 300-plus carries every single year. And that's not really Payton's MO as a coach. With the Saints, he always divided the carries up amongst his running backs. My honest opinion on these two questions is we're likely going to get no from one of the two questions. Might not be the one you're thinking of, but it seems unlikely that yes, he will be there at 20, and yes, Sean Payton wants to draft him. He might be there at 20, but Sean Payton doesn't want to draft him. Sean Payton might want to draft him, but he might not be there at 20. So my gut tells me we're probably going to get no to one of those two, and that'll be the end of Jeanty coming to the Broncos. Although I'm holding out hope because he's my number one draft target for Denver. Before we look at the rest of the players on Kiper's big board, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Mock draft season is here. There'll be plenty of draft rumors coming out as we get closer to Super Bowl week and the Combine. Then we have free agency in March. That's always a blast. So help us reach 33,000 subscribers after recently crossing 32,000 subscribers. On to player number 8 on Kiper's big board. It is Tetairoa McMillan, the wide receiver out of Arizona. I'm actually going to pause the video here and talk about McMillan, or T-Mac as his teammates and friends call him, because I do think there is a chance that he could pique Denver's interest. 6'5", 212 pounds. Very, very big human being for a wide receiver. He beats defenders with that 6'5" frame and his physicality when he's high pointing the football and he's trying to win 50-50 balls over a DB. He does not have elite speed. He's not someone who you can throw the ball to on a slant. He'll catch it, turn up field, and beat everyone. That's not his role. Don't use him in that role. Use him in a kind of like Mike Williams role, but he's not quite as powerful, I think, as Williams. He was from Hawaii, went to Arizona, played all 3 years for the Wildcats, and he had monster back-to-back seasons. 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns in 2023, and then this past season, 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns for a bad Arizona team. This is not a very deep wide receiver class. So if there is ever even just a tiny, tiny part of Sean and George Payton that want to go out and draft a receiver, don't wait. Because the combination of running back, or let's just say the combination of tight end in round 1 and wide receiver in round 2 may not be as good as the combination of wide receiver in round 1 and tight end in round 2. It's a deep running back and tight end class. It is not a very deep wide receiver class. And that's the first time we've said those words in a long time. And Denver's wide receiver room is pretty young, and I wouldn't say lacking superstar power, but if the Broncos feel like we need more playmakers to take down the Bills and the Chiefs and the other AFC juggernauts, then they may look to upgrade. Now, I think personally they are confident in this receiver room after the way Mims closed out the year, the season Sutton had. Troy Franklin got better as the season went along. Devon Vele showed a ton of promise throughout the season. I think internally the Broncos are much more confident in this receiver room than fantasy football owners are. So my guess is they're probably not going to go with the receiver in round 1, but if they really want to get one, they shouldn't wait. And that might motivate them to take someone like McMillan. Moving along here, big board 9 through 10. Jalen Walker and Kelvin Banks, those are just two positions I don't see Denver pursuing in round number 1, so I'm not going to look at those guys very closely with you all. Same goes for Will Campbell, the left tackle from LSU. But at number 12, we get Tyler Warren out of Penn State. And this is absolutely someone I could see the Broncos putting at the top of their wish list. Now, before we look closer at Warren, a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players. Basketball season is heating up, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Prize Picks also puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Here are my selections for Sunday's games. They are giving Jaden Daniels at 0.5 passing yards. They're just giving you the more. Take it, pair it with one more, and you're home free. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once more, download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Moving back to Tyler Warren, I should say. So we've talked about him before on the channel, but it's good to rehash things in case you forgot, we got some new viewers here. 6'6", 260 pounds. What the fuck? Is that tight? Is he really 260 pounds? That is a monster human being. I'm almost going to look it up right now. Like, I don't believe myself, and I'm the one that wrote this. Tyler Warren, please. Is he really? You're watching this in live time right now. Tyler Warren, Penn State. If he is truly 260 pounds, he's 261. Rounded down. These guys don't come out in the draft every year. They don't grow on trees. 6'6", 260. You are getting an offensive lineman with the hands of a receiver that runs like a running back. That's what makes him so special. He's got an incredible catch radius where it doesn't matter where the ball is. He's going to find a way to get his hands on it and come down with the catch. Now, the knock on him is he's not an elite run blocker. You know what? That's fine. I don't need him to be an elite run blocker. I've got 5 great offensive linemen that can do that for me. You can stick another tight end there. You can use a different tight end on run packages. What he's able to do through the air, 1,000 yards for a tight end in the modern era of college football is blasphemy. It's unheard of. He was a do-it-all man for the Nittany Lions. He could throw, he could run, he could catch. He did everything for Penn State. So, Tyler Warren, I think, would be a home run pick. I think him or Jeanty would be an A++. Does he fall to pick 20? We have to wait and see. I could see the Dolphins going with the tight end. I could see any team just going, regardless of our need, we're going to fall in love with this guy as a prospect, and we're going to take him. On to the rest of Kiper's big board. 13 through 15 does not really apply to Denver too much. They're not going to go offensive tackle. I doubt they go with the safety. Maybe, but I doubt it. Malachi Starks, I think, would be a fun player, though. Michael Williams, edge rusher from Georgia, unlikely. You got Benito and Cooper. Colston Loveland is where our train makes its next stop because he might be the consolation prize for any team looking for Warren that misses out. So Loveland, I think, is still a very good tight end, though. 6'5", 245 pounds. So not as big as Warren, but definitely good size and a lot of meat on his bones. He's got incredible separation ability. And we really saw that in his 2023 campaign with the Wolverines. Unfortunately, in 2024, he fell victim to one of the worst, if not the worst, actually, I'm just going to say it, the worst passing attack in all the Group of 4 schools. Which it sounds weird, I'm saying Power 5. But you can look at his numbers from 2023 when J.J. McCarthy was his quarterback. 649 yards, 4 touchdowns. And even this past season, with horrible quarterback play, he still put up some really nice numbers, but not quite as good as his 2023 season. I think Loveland's also going to make a very nice tight end at the next level. I don't think he will be a superstar tight end, but I think he's got the potential to have a ceiling like a Sam Laporta, someone who could look like the third or maybe even the second best tight end that single season. On we go. We've got a corner from ECU next. Chevron Rivell, not going to be the pick for Denver. Walter Nolan, and then Derek Harmon, 2 defensive tackles who I do want to talk about because I could see these players catching George and Sean Payton's interest. Nolan and Harmon are some of your best interior defensive linemen for this draft class. One big reason why, their pass rushing upside. It is not easy to find players that are 300-plus pounds that have 5 or more sacks. Like, year to year, I don't think there was one last year of someone with 300 pounds to his name and 5 or more sacks. These types of players, kind of like Tyler Warren, they are not available every single draft class. And I could see them being a plan C for the Broncos. If plan A is Tyler Warren and plan B is Ashton Jeanty, or flip-flop them however you want, and both guys go before pick number 20, I could see Denver just looking at 2 incredible athletes for their size and the pass rushing prowess and the upside and stopping there and going, we rarely find these big of guys that can get after the quarterback. And there is no place quarterbacks hate pressure for more than right up the middle. And with DJ Jones being a free agent, this could be a simple plug and play and reinforce the trenches. As for the rest of Kiper's big board, Jahad Campbell out of Alabama, linebacker, no thanks. 21, Luther Burden. We'll stop here just for a quick moment and then power on to the rest of them because Burden does seem like a backup, like plan D maybe at receiver. If Denver really wants to get a wide out and T-Mac is gone before 20 is on the clock, then Burden might be the consolation prize, kind of like Loveland is to Warren. 5'11", 208 pounds, so a very different style of receiver than McMillan. McMillan is your big physical receiver. Burden is your yards after the catch. He had a little over 600 yards this year. 50% of that came after the catch. He is someone who you throw to on the slant, he catches, and he's gone. He's turning upfield. He's running to the end zone. But there are some concerns. One, the production drop-off. I mean, I don't have a good answer. If someone watching right now is a good, diehard Mizzou fan and can fill me in, please enlighten me. But how do you go from 1,200 yards to 600 yards? That's a question that needs answering. And if the Broncos come up with a satisfying answer, then maybe he is the play at 20 because he's a sleeper that fell because of a disappointing 2024 season. Personally, I would prefer a bigger body receiver. They've got a lot of those speed guys already. Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin. I think it might be nice to bring on your next Cortland Sutton style receiver. And that's more of McMillan's size. So that's the route I'd rather see Denver go, just to complement the already existing pieces in your receiver room. Now, let me ask you this question before we get on out of here. Who do you not want the Broncos to draft? We're going to show the last couple of names right now on Kiper's big board. So while you're looking at them, maybe it's one of those guys, but who is the player that you are drawing the line in the sand for going, no. Everyone's got it wrong. Stay away from that guy. Here's the rest of the top 25 for Kiper. I don't think the Broncos go defensive end, so pretty much rule out 22 to 24. Kenneth Grant out of Michigan, defensive tackle maybe, but I like the two guys we talked about earlier. So let me know in the comment section below who you do not want the Broncos to draft. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and like the video. It does help go a long way to support the channel.